Hello, Chill Computer Guy. Today we're in Reason 9.2. That's right, 9.2, not 9.5. We've stepped back to 9.2 for reasons that I might explain in a future video. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, we are taking a look at a Mixedfood WT4, which is a wavetable synthesizer. Now, this is put out by a company called Studio Cobach or Cobach, or I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but they have 5 other synthesizers, and I've tried a couple of them, and they're all relatively good. But right now, they're all on sale for $9 a pop, which is pretty exciting. I think as far as user interface goes and the functionality, I think that the WT4 is probably the best that I have found. That's the one we're going to take a look at today. Let's go ahead and go over to Reason here. And you can see we have a default patch here. Let's go ahead and play that. So yeah, not a bad sounding patch there for the default. I think I was reading this has a little over 800 presets. So you know, you got a lot of presets here: bass effects, pad, pluck, and synth. Basically, you know, good categories to get started out at. And like I say, it's a little over 800 presets. And I went through them. I might go through them in the video. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, they're decent. You know, they're not all great, but they're not all great. They're not all bad either. I mean, some of them are very useful and very good. About this synthesizer is it's actually got some kind of unique stuff. Basically, a wavetable synthesizer, and something that that kind of confused me a little bit at first is this lower part, the part that is on top of this black or dark gray plate. All this stuff on the lower half is specific to that particular oscillator. So think of this bottom panel, think of there as being 4 separate panels, one for each oscillator. And that includes everything: the amp envelope, the filter envelope, all the modulation, the effects even. All this stuff is separate. Basically, everything below this line here is times 4. In other words, specific to that particular oscillator. Now you'll see we have 4 oscillators here. It's got an orange square around it. It's active. In other words, if I turn this off, I'm hitting a key, nothing. Here's oscillator 4, oscillator 3, oscillator 2, and oscillator 1, which the preset is just oscillator 1. So you can turn all 4 of these on. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, and on and off is the first thing, and then if you move over here, you have an edit cube. By clicking this, it's going to change all the parameters down below. And so, just like I was previously mentioning, there's 4 separate oscillators here. Now you can click edit here, or you can go down here and actually scroll up and down here. That'll do the same thing. As you see, if I'm scrolling up and down, it's actually changing these here. Next to that, we have a unison, which we have off, 2, 4, and 3 octave. So I don't know what the 2 and 4 are. These might be semitones. Maybe that's 2 semitones, 4 semitones, 3 octaves, or not really sure. They're kind of arbitrary numbers. I don't really know what they mean. And then next to that, we have a detune, which we can go minus 70 to plus 70. Width, we have width, plus 50 to minus 50. And then next to that, we have the wavetable. So you scroll down, you can go 1 all the way up to 400. So you have 400 different wavetables here. And of course, if you click these arrows to the right and left, you can go through one wavetable at a time. And then to the right of that, we have a visual display, I guess, of the wavetable. And then this little triangle here, this is the index. So you can go from 1 all the way up to 100. So you have an index that slides through that particular wavetable. Now next to that you have a volume rheostat, and that's just basically the volume of that particular oscillator. So all four of these oscillators are exactly the same. They all have the same 400 wavetables. And at the end here, you can kind of use these volume controls as a mixer to kind of mix the signals together. And so that's the oscillators. Now next to that, you have a global section. Now the global section, basically you have a low pass 24, low pass 12, low pass plus, band pass 6, high pass 12, high pass plus, and that's it. Something that is a little annoying about this particular synthesizer is there's no drop downs. Everything, you have to basically stop there, hold down on the left, mouse up and down. That's the only way to change shit, is to just click and mouse up and down. There's no drop down menu, there's no right click, it's all just mousing up and down, which is a little bit of a nuisance. But same with the wavetables over here. If you mouse up and down, that's how you cycle through them. Of course, you can go ahead and hook this up to like a remote override or something and do it that way. So now you can see that if I play, so that's that. Now next to that, like I say, there's a global section here, and you just basically have a global filter with a cutoff of resonance, velocity, sensitivity, and the master volume right here. Below that you have a pan, a glide, a legato, and then a poly or mono. So poly or mono, so if you want to make a bass, you turn this into mono, one key at a time. And again, all these parameters are global. Now below there you have the first of many unique things about the synthesizer. It's called a split drive, and this is basically kind of like a multi-band compressor, I guess. If you jeez, that's fucking loud. If you turn this on, you have an output here, so you can turn all these down and you get no signal. And then this is just the high, and then you can give that some drive. And they actually tell you what frequency you're at, which is great because a lot of these synthesizers just tell you, like I say, an arbitrary number, and you don't know what the heck it's talking about. So right at 5K, we're giving it some drive at 5K, and then we're cranking that up. Goes all the way up to 8 kilohertz. So you can just turn that off, and then here's your mids. Your mids is a fixed frequency. Who knows where that might be? Here's your lows. Goes clear down to like 50 hertz there. So kind of a nice thing to have, just a good way to kind of globally kind of sculpt your sound there with, it's basically an EQ, but that's the split drive, and what's nice about it, you can just turn it off and on. God, that's ear-shattering. Okay, let's right-click and reset this one more time. And so that's basically the top section. You have 4 oscillators identical, a global filter, and a global multi-band, legato, pan, all that good stuff. Now, if you want to load up a patch, you do that right below here. There's your patch browser there. And then this right here, like I say, you can scroll up and down, and this will tell you which oscillator you're currently editing, or you can just click up here, whichever's easiest. I find it easier to just click up here. So this is oscillator 1, and we can start off, we have normal, semi and sense, so some fine tuning there, and then we have a right and left pan, so you can pan the oscillators, pan them right and left to get a wider sound. And then you have a ring mod. You can go ahead and turn this ring mod on. Let's take a listen to this. And then below that we have a filter, which is, like I say, specific to the oscillator. So we have, looks like a low pass, high pass, band pass. There's only 3 different types there. And again, no drop down. You have to just scroll your mouse up and down. Let's listen to that. just a standard filter, and then next to that we have something called pitch drop. Now this is a kind of a unique thing here. Let's go ahead and turn this filter off. I wish you could just turn this thing off. I guess you can you? Now this is the second thing. It's called a pitch drop, and so what this is when you hit the key, it's gonna drop the pitch slowly based on your controls here. Let's go ahead and with the depth, and then the smoothness. So I don't know, kind of like a glide, but with a pitch, kind of like a pitch envelope or something, I guess. And so, like I say, these are all specific to the oscillator. So we have the tune, the pan, the ring mod, the pitch drop. Those are the two unique ones, and then just a standard filter. Now, on top of that, we have a standard amp envelope. This is specific to the oscillator, so you have a different amp envelope for each oscillator of this synthesizer, which lends itself to a lot of opportunity for sound design. We also have a filter envelope. Now these envelopes have a normal ADSR, but then you have a hold parameter and a couple other parameters, so you can get some more complicated envelopes, build some more complicated envelopes. And then at the end we have an inversion slider, so you can just invert the entire envelope. And then the filter envelope, same thing, except you have an amount slider, which of course is the amount of the envelope that is sent to the filter. If we play the filter here, and we can invert it. So this is forward, and this is backwards. So pretty cool. Filter envelope, amp envelope, specific to each oscillator. And then we have a standard modulation matrix. Now, your source and your destination, you'll see this little orange triangle. Again, there's no drop-down menu. You just have to scroll up on your mouse. Envelope 1, envelope 2, envelope 3, LFO 1, LFO 2, LFO 3, LFO 4, velocity, mod wheel, and aftertouch. So you have quite a few sources there. And then the amount slider, which is up to 100%, positive and negative, which is kind of nice. And then the smoothness. Now the smoothness parameter, I found this to be pretty nice. Now your destination, you have tune, your volume, your pan, your index, your cutoff, and your resonance. So those are your destinations. So not a whole lot of destinations, but in a way that's kind of a nice thing. Sometimes you end up with having less options sometimes is actually a good thing. So next to that we have another what looks like a small modulation matrix, but the destination here is just the drive. So basically this is the drive control. So this particular modulation matrix is just basically two slots specifically for the drive control. So you can you want to leave this at 0 if it's constant. If it's negative or plus, it's going to constantly affect whatever destination you have here. The modulation matrix, in my opinion, is the smoothness parameter. It's actually pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and play with that. And so certain things it really does shine on, but yeah, the smoothness parameter in the LFO is pretty unique. It has a really good sound to it. It lends itself to sound designing. Now I played with this synthesizer for about a half hour and made some quick sounds with it, and I found myself reaching for that smoothness parameter. It was pretty nice. Now we also have a modulation matrix specifically for this EQ here, EQ1 they call it, and that again has sources, envelope, LFOs, basically all the envelopes, LFOs, aftertouch, mod wheel, that type of thing, an amount of smoothness, and then your destination is going to be your frequency, your width, or your gain. So basically those three parameters are your destinations. What you have here is two modulation buses specifically for the EQ1 and the drive parameter. This modulation bus is specifically for either the tune, the volume, the pan, the index, or the cutoff, or the resonance. So those are the only things you can control with that particular. And you have 4 slots there. And then the amp envelope is hardwired to the gain, and then the filter envelope is hardwired to the filter over here on the left. Now below that we have 3 envelopes, and they're all ADSR with a hold parameter and a couple other extra parameters, basically curves, an attack curve, a decay curve, and then all 3 of them are exactly the same. And those are the 3 envelopes that are going to be in any of these 3 destinations up here. And then next to that you have 4 LFOs. You have a sine wave, triangle, square, saw, random, and drift. Drift is interesting. We have a rate, and then we have a rate linear. So that's the way the drift works. And then all 4 envelopes are the same. They have a rate, they have a sync rate, and then they also have a linear rate, which we'll discuss in a minute. We have a phase, so we can phase them in and out. That's basically where the wave starts. We have a sync and a retrigger, which are on or off. Now you can see the drift parameter is the closest. I would call it random. It's a pretty random parameter. So you have your constant rate and then your linear rate, which is an incoming rate, and then we have a phase. We could flip it around. So you can take all 4 of these LFOs, change up the phase, linear rate, and really get quite a bit of modulation going on. 3 very useful and intuitive envelopes, as well as 4 LFOs. Down below that we have the effects, and again these effects are specific to the oscillator, so you have basically 4 sets of all this stuff. Let's go ahead and reset the device and we'll play through some of these effects. Now the Haas effect is basically widening. It's basically taking, unless you have headphones or some sort of stereo field, you're not going to even notice this, but it's basically giving you a wider signal here. Now some of the things that do kind of bug me about this particular synth is like this Haas, this time effect. I would love to modulate this, but you can't really modulate it. It's not a destination on any of these, so that's kind of, it's a little bit limiting in that way. But you can throw this inside a combinator. In this particular synthesizer, you can't modulate any of these effects based on the destinations provided. That's the Haas effect. And then we have a simple EQ, which is to gain, frequency, and a Q. So we can really kind of zero in on a sound. We have a flanger. We have a phaser. Boy, combine that with the Haas effect. Whoa, hope you're wearing headphones. Alright, so that's the phaser. Then next to that we have the chorus. You can go up to 4 voices on your chorus here. Next to that we have a delay, standard delay. We have stereo, cross, left, right. So let's check that out. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, how about the reverb? Yeah, pretty nice sounding reverb. Lo-fi. Put some static in there, and of course, you know, we can put the Haas effect, the flanger, the phaser, the chorus. I hope you're wearing headphones. Put a little delay in there, and the reverb. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The unique thing about it, though, is all those effects, all those envelopes, all those LFOs, all this modulation stuff, the ring mod, the pitch drop, the filter, the tune, the pan, all that stuff is per oscillator. Quite a bit of sound design possibilities. The fact that you can, you know, have this many parameters inside each oscillator, which is a wavetable, which you can sweep through the position of the wavetable, and you have 400 different waves. You have your global filter as well as your split drive for some kind of multi-band type sound. You know, a great sound design tool. It is somewhat limited as far as the destination. You can't really, like, you know, modulate like the time on your Haas effect or your feedback parameter on your flanger or anything like that. So the destinations are pretty limited to just the tune, which is the pitch, and then the volume, the pan, the cutoff, the index, and the resonance. You know, so it's fairly limited. But you have some nice envelopes and some nice modulation and some nice destinations. Enough destinations to really, you know, set up quite a bit of sound design. So. And like I say, there's over 800 presets. So for $9, this is a good rack extension to have. So what I've been doing is I've been giving these multiple ratings based on the price. I would give this a 3.5 based on the $25 price tag, but the price tag being $9, that's going to bump it up. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. Actually, I'm going to give it 4.25. Just because I like the look of it. I like the look of this. This is just a cool rack extension to throw on your rack and start flipping out with. So the sound engine's all right. It's not spectacular, but it's better than a lot. It's better than some rack extensions I've seen. We'll load up a couple of presets here. Let's go to bass. That's the bass folder, and then if we go over to the effects folder, pad folder, Lovely, lovely, absolutely. It's great. I mean, for $9, it's just go buy this right now. Let's check out some plucks. That's a great pluck. This synth has my favorite categories. It's got bass, pads, plucks, and then synth. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, you can get big sounds out of this. Yeah, this is an absolute steal. If you haven't already, just quit watching this and go buy this. You get a little, you're making your film now. You can just. Man, that's a film scoring preset right there. That's a beautiful kind of a film scoring preset right there. Very nice. Unbelievable. Tons and tons and tons of patches on here also. Yeah, so check it out. It's the Mixedfood WT4. If you check out the back here, not a lot, just a gate. We got a gate and a note, CV stuff, and then we also have a separate dry and wet output for each of the 4 oscillators. So that's pretty handy. You can control the bend rate of your mod wheel up to 1 octave. It looks like sample quality, high, mid, and econo. So if you're having DSP issues, you can turn it down. And then you have a low cut on or off for low end rumble, I guess. Chill Computer Guy, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. We're going to have more rack extension reviews coming up. But yeah, definitely check this one out. I'm going to give it a 4.25 stars based on the $9 price tag. That's up from 3.5 stars at the $25 price tag. But yeah, highly recommend this one. Great sounding presets, great sound design tool. Very useful rack extension for $9. You can't beat it. Subscribe, give a thumbs up, give a comment. Let me know which rack extension you want me to review and we'll do it. All right, we'll see you again. Chill Computer Guy. See you next time.